Hello beautifuls, my name is Quavia and I'm the creator of JuJu Thyme. In today's video, it is very special for me because it is my first YouTube collaboration and I am very excited that I got to do it with the lovely Aster. I'm very excited for you to listen to this conversation because there's so many nuggets of wisdom in Aster's path. But also, for those of you that follow me on this channel, you know that I'm a big advocate for people finding their own individual path towards peace, love, joy, and abundance. And Aster is doing exactly that. And honestly, it's beautiful. So enjoy the conversation. Hello, beautifuls. My name is Quavia. I'm the creator of JuJu Thyme, and today is a very special day because something different, something fresh. As you can see here, we have Aster with us, and I'm so excited to have her here. So, Aster, can you please just introduce yourself and tell us what is your practice for those that do not know? And if you do not, go follow her. You know what? We'll talk about it at the end. But yes, Aster, please.
So, hello everybody. My name is Aster. I am a Brazilian folk practitioner, which, by the way, is something that I am kind of making up myself because I haven't really seen anyone mixing Brazilian culture with witchcraft and bringing just this mix together. So, yeah, I am born and raised in Brazil. Spirituality has been in my family for like generations. It is something very present. And I have been living in France since 2021. So, yeah, that's where I am in my practice and in my life. I have started sharing it on the internet because I think that when it comes to the spiritual community, we have been listening to very similar voices, and diversity is very important. Representation matters, and that's why I'm here to bring a different narrative and to introduce my culture of origin to other people who might not know it. So, yeah.
Yes, love it. Love it. So, the first thing, based off of what you just said just now, I would love to know in your experience of connecting with your practice. And as you said, you are connecting two aspects of your practice that for you, it hasn't been done before. Is that what you were saying? But yeah, connecting with that in France.
Girl, this is just a random mixture. So I think I should start with the fact that I moved. So I
Mhm.
grew up seeing a lot of spirituality through my mother, and my family, like her family, more accurately, they were mediums of a Brazilian religion that is called Umbanda. For those of you who don't know, I have a video talking about it if you want to learn more. And they were mediums of a temple for a long time. But over time, they distanced themselves from the religion because every African derived practice is socially, kind of socially unacceptable to an extent. And especially in their time, there was even more repression and looking down upon it. So they became Protestants over time. And my mother was the only person who remained a little bit more spiritual in a different way, let's say, or superstitious, as she calls it. And being raised by her, I saw a lot of stuff growing up. I saw her doing things, and um, she would take me to the temples. I would see possessions. I would see the whole thing. I would see her dealing with hexes being thrown in our yard. So that's how I grew up, seeing all of those things.
Mm.
But I never really took any kind of spirituality for myself. I
Mm-hmm.
grew up very distant from all of that until the day that I moved. I came to Europe a couple of years ago. And when you find yourself in that position of being completely alone and on your own, it definitely does something to you. It pushes some buttons that have never been pushed before. And
Yes.
I started connecting spiritually to all of my heritage. It all started with ancestor work and doing the genealogical tree. That's
Mm-hmm.
where I took it from. That's how I started. And things just unfolded naturally. Like you were telling me when we were making the interview with you, it just happens naturally because it is part of who we are. I
In the blood.
started getting witchcraft books because I got interested in that. And as I
Mm-hmm.
was reading those things, I realized wait a minute, my mother taught me this. And yeah, I just realized that apparently we had been kind of witchy all that time and I didn't know about it.
Yes, 100%. I resonate with that. I feel like I've always been a little witchy. You have given me so much, but I would love to talk about the witchcraft aspect of your practice because I know that the word witch and witchcraft in our practices is kind of distancing, I find that
It's kind of
to
avoided
yeah,
to an extent.
yes, it's very much avoided to an extent. And so did you have any like hesitations of going down that route? And I ask because for a while I would say I hesitated calling myself a witch. I
Hmm.
hesitated so much. And I would even have people come to me and they would say, that I'm not a witch, that, that I'm a healer, that
Hmm.
that's different than a witch. Like, are you sure that's what you are? And I was like, wait, is it? Like, it would really put me into question, because they see, that witch is a European word and all of this. Um, First, I would love to get your journey on that. If you
Hmm.
have a journey on that, and then, yeah.
Yeah, so for me personally, there's a lot of overlap if we look if we look at many different cultures, we will see that the spiritual practices have a lot of overlap and similarities. That's one
Mhm.
thing. And if we look at history, the history of witchcraft and everything that happened, we will see that there has been a demonization of the term witch and witchcraft. And people were taught for centuries to distance themselves from that term. So that still reflects in the society of today. People still hesitate a lot to call themselves witches, regardless of origin and ethnical background. I
Mhm.
like to call myself a witch to reclaim that term and give it a new meaning.
Yeah.
I think that this word needs, let's say, a rebranding because we're not in the Middle Ages anymore. And the fact that I don't really subscribe to any religious format, I am mixing a lot of different things and creating my own practice in my own terms. I feel that it is more accurate to say that I am a witch than saying that I am like an Umbanda practitioner because that would not be accurate. I am
Mhm.
not only doing things that Umbanda teaches, and I'm
Mhm.
not initiated in anything, so I can't go to the world and put that kind of label on myself if I haven't earned it. So
Yes.
which feels more accurate to me.
Yes. No, I completely I completely resonate with that on so many levels. And what I find as well, is that there's such a thin line between healer and witch. It's such a thin line that
Totally.
the minute that, for example, a healer, perhaps, something doesn't work out the way the person would have wanted it to work out, you
Mhm.
immediately deemed a witch. So there's such a fine line, and I do understand what you mean by the redefining and the demonization of it. So I love that because i think I think a lot of people would resonate with that. Like you said, it doesn't matter their ethnic background or anything like this. It's a word, period, that's been just really demonized. um
Yeah.
And the other thing that I wanted to talk about, you spoke about how you grew up and people, for example, were throwing hexes and all these kind of things. Well, first and foremost, please, what is your thoughts on baneful magic or, things like this? I want to hear your voice first of what your thoughts are about it.
So, my philosophy when it comes to baneful magic is do no harm, but take no shit. If somebody is going to come over to me and try to make my life miserable, oh, they're going to have it. And I'm not sorry for it.
Listen.
But I'm not going to come out from where I am, just enjoying my life or try my best to within this capitalist system. Well, I'm not going to stop everything I'm doing and just try and make somebody's life worse just for the fun of it or whatever. I have so many things to do and so many things that need my energy and my attention. So I'm not going to waste my time doing harm to others for
Mhm.
free if they didn't do anything to me. But if somebody asks for it, they're gonna have it.
It reminds me of that phrase of like, what is it? It said like, I won't start it, but I'm gonna finish it. I
Exactly.
won't start it.
Exactly.
I'm gonna finish it. Yes.
Don't test me, all right?
That
I'm just trying to survive over here. Don't test me.
Yes, and I definitely resonate. I'm always in the in between, and so I resonate with that big time. Absolutely, absolutely.
However, something that we can notice in Brazilian culture
Hmm.
among people who are more spiritual, let's say, is that they throw hexes very immaturely, I would say, for no reason, like this thing I was talking about, my mother having to deal with cemetery dirt being thrown in our yard,
Mm,
tangled up and knots of yarn and scrapes of candles being left to burn within the property, all that kind of stuff. It was from a neighbor that had problems with their mother. And then my mother tried to help this lady, and she became a target too. So people throw hexes for literally the pettiest reasons, for no reason at all, just because you're happy, and you're just living your life. It could be reason enough for somebody to come and hex you and throw something at you. So we
yeah,
need to be protected all the time and,
yes.
have protections up.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
protection work is literally one of the foundations that you should learn at the very beginning before you even do anything else. It
Because
is
people can be petty, they can be, so small about things. We need to
yeah,
be protected.
yes, yes, yes. And I feel like sometimes people also they throw things, like you said, for very petty reasons. And I spoke to you earlier about it, how like there's a fine line of, of knowing like when to do some kind of working and when it
Mhm.
just a lesson that you had to learn. Yes, I'm sorry that your heart was
Yeah,
broken, but also,
that's life.
also it's like, well, what did you learn from that? Oh, wow. So you learned that you deserve more. You learned more about your worth and all of these things. But perhaps um, throwing, throwing dirt at the person, I don't think that's perhaps
That's not gonna fix anything.
that's not going to fix anything. Perhaps not. No. But
No.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, so with the practice, on the regular, what does it look like? Because I love how you are. I feel like your ancestors are loving this, you doing you, and I feel like, well, because I feel like on so many levels it's healing, right?
Yeah.
And so I would love to know, like, what does your practice look like just on the daily, or any rituals that you commit yourself to, XYZ? Anything that you, of course, want to share, of course.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So nowadays, the entities that I venerate and connect with are entities called Pombagira. I don't know if you have ever heard of them, but I recently made a video talking about them, by the way, so people can know who are those entities.
Mm-hmm.
I have consulted with a religious authority to get to know about my spiritual team, and I was told that I have two pombagiras accompanying me and one male counterpart called malandro, which, if we would translate, would mean rascal. So I have these three entities with me, and I build a relationship with them on a daily basis, talking
Mm-hmm.
to them, listening to them, and I do my best to once a week have offerings for them. It's actually right here. Today I baked a cake for them. I made this. It is a very old recipe. It's a corn flour cake. And I put some
Mm-hmm.
banana in it and cinnamon and brown sugar. It is marvelous. So I have here one white candle for the male entity. And
Mm-hmm.
here are the girls. I have a black candle in the middle and a red candle over here. And I cook something for them. Last week I made bread, homemade bread. It was such a cool thing. So every week I try to do something a little bit different, and then I sit here, I put everything into place, I put a drink for them. So there's beer, there's cider, there's forgot the name of that thing. Um it's a red thing. I forgot. It's not wine. I
Okay.
forgot the name.
A
Anyway,
port? Is it a port?
it is.
No.
Mm,
No, wait a minute, wait a minute. No, no,
anyway,
no.
so
Actually, this would be protection. You forgot on purpose. It's okay. It's all good. Just need to
yeah,
know
she
what I'm
doesn't want
drinking.
to. She
Yes.
doesn't want the information out there. But
Yeah,
anyway,
she's like, they don't need
I
to know what
have
I'm drinking. Love it. Yes.
I get their candles, their drinks, and a portion of whatever I have cooked.
Mm-hmm.
And the first pieces are for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I eat part of it just here with them, and we gossip. And the first thing to be done is to show gratitude. I thank them for being there, for existing, for having my back, for coming and listening to my nonsense, to taking the time to come over and listen to me talking about my mundane things. And it is amazing to feel the presence. Like today, it is super cold outside, but I have heating and the room is warm. So those shivers are not from cold. It is so magical to feel the presence. The moment that I light the candle and I sing a song for each one of them, a different
Yes.
song, and I start talking, I feel that presence approaching. It
Yeah.
is so incredible, every time. Even sometimes, like when I was in Portugal and I couldn't do my weekly offering, I went to a crossroads with 3 roses. I
Hmm.
stood there and I had a conversation with them. I said, "Hey, I'm over here. I won't be able to do an offering today. I just wanted to thank you, etc." And I also felt the presence standing at the crossroads. It is really magical. So nowadays, the biggest part of my practice is cultivating this relationship with my entities, my guardian entities. And they are ancestors, basically. They were people who were part of my family or very close to my family centuries
Oh,
ago.
I was gonna ask you.
And
Okay.
yeah, so it is such a pleasure, it is such a discovery, and sometimes getting dreams and getting their voices coming through, it is just a discovery every single step of the way.
Yes.
Sometimes, however, I do little things, spells, rituals, and whatnot on my own without involving them. Like, for example, I have a doll of
Mhm.
myself
Mhm.
that I have for prosperity purposes. I do a lot of prosperity work. Um, Also, cleansings. I love bath magic. So I use a lot of herbs, especially rosemary. Rosemary and roses are my favorite. And I burn a lot of it around the house. Also, mugwort. I like it a lot for when I'm going to meditate. And another thing that I am currently learning, I can't talk a lot about it because I'm learning, but I'm going to show it anyway. It is the divination system
Mm.
that we use cowrie shells to do.
I
So it
love
is
cowrie shells. Yes.
it is 16 cowrie shells. Each one of them represent one Odu, which is a path, a destiny.
Hmm.
And yeah, it is a very complex system, actually. And I was told by this religious authority that I consulted with that I should learn this system because one of my entities, she was a reader when she was alive. And,
Uh-huh.
there's nobody in my entire family who reads the shells. So it is so impactful that I get to bring this back from the
Yes.
dead almost, and keep it
Literally.
alive in the family line. So I am
Yeah.
learning. I am very happy about it.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's
yes.
where I'm at.
Yes, I love that. Oh God, you said so many things, and I was just like snapping my fingers over here because I was like, yes, yes, yes. One, I want to say of how much of a connection just you talking about um about the folk practice in Brazil, and I'm hearing you, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, I see a connection hoodoo. Oh my God. I see
It's
Africa.
very
I
similar.
see it.
Yeah.
I feel it. I see it. I understand. So one, love that. I also loved when you said how I think people underestimate. Okay, back up. I think there's so much power, especially I think when people are wanting to connect. I was going to ask you about how do you connect with them, but it's like we're here. It's like what I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you because I'm very curious. Like, how do you connect with them? You were already there. I think people underestimate the power of going to a lot of these spirits and having no intention other than to say hi, and I just want to form a relationship. And so I'm not here to bargain anything or take anything. I just want to give you something,
You heard something.
Yeah. If you need to talk with them for a second, it's okay. We can mute it and do your thing. It's all good.
No,
I
no, it's
understand.
okay. It's okay.
But yeah, the power of just of just giving something without any expectation that you're going to take something or you need something back in return. I think that
Yeah.
formulation of that relationship is so important.
Yeah, people forget very often that forming a relationship when it comes to spiritual contact, spirit work, regardless of the entity you're dealing with,
Mhm.
forming a relationship is fundamental. And it's not about just getting what you want and asking for things. Sometimes it's about pure gratitude, just acknowledging the spirit and saying, hey, I appreciate you so much. I made this cake for you. I got you this flower. You
Yeah.
know,
And
it's not about getting a lollipop at the supermarket. Sometimes I don't mean to judge other people's practice
mm-hmm.
because to each their own. But sometimes I see some offerings that people do, and I'm like, what are you doing? You
Mm,
know, offerings, you really need to put your love and your energy into it. And the best way to do that is cooking with your own hands, making something, taking the time, like the time and the effort that you put into an offering are part of the offering. So if you
yeah.
just get candy from the supermarket, it's not going to have the same meaning for the spirits.
Yes. And
You know,
spend time.
so
Time is
yeah,
also an offering. Spend like quality time, gossip, talk, tell them about your
yeah,
mundane life.
exactly. It's
Yes.
not about just throwing a lollipop on their altar. It's about, I made this thing and we're going to sit here, talk about others, and enjoy this food that I've made.
Period.
This is how we form relationships with
Yes.
living people, right? And
Yes.
it is the same thing with spirits.
Yes. And I feel like in our practice, this idea of living and dead and all of this, it's they are the living dead. They are living. They might not be living in this physical plane
They
as
just don't
they
have a body and
just
they
don't have
don't give a damn because, you know, they have been dead for such a long time. They don't care
they don't care.
about
But
anything.
yeah, and it's still a relationship because it's still a living being, you know?
Yeah.
So 100%, I love that. And I would love, because we sort of jumped right into you. And because, I mean, how can we not? You are just amazing. So come on.
Oh, stop it.
Stop blushing. Don't do that. But I would love to know more about, just very briefly, about Afro Brazilians like yourself have held on and maintained their practice. I know you have a video on it, like extensively. Go watch it
Mhm.
after this, please, because you go in so well. But very briefly, how did that happen? We know that for the Afro diaspora, syncretism had to happen, but I think sometimes the American experience is so focused on, without realizing that the Americas
Are very big.
is very big, and there's so many different experiences that, of course, there is a common denominator of it all,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But still, it has its own history. And so I want to take the time. Brazil, let's
Okay.
go.
So, for those of you who don't know, Brazil has been colonized by Portugal in the 1500s. And shortly after their arrival, they started taking African enslaved people over there because they didn't really manage to enslave the indigenous people. The indigenous people didn't accept it. And it was not like they fought necessarily, but often they killed themselves. You know, they preferred to die rather than being slaves. So it was not really easy for the Portuguese to enslave the natives, and they started taking slaves over there.
Mhm.
Uh, the Black spirituality over the centuries, like 300-ish centuries of slavery, survived a lot due to Catholicism, because the Portuguese were Catholic, and Catholicism has many saints and angels. The Africans were able to disguise and hide the orishas behind the saints. So to this day, the syncretism is still a thing. People still refer back to it and use it because it
Mm-hmm.
was really very present. And I've read in a book that, as a matter of fact, to an extent, the Black religiosity was tolerated by the dominant white class
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't want the slaves to have a reason to unite against the oppressor. So they came from different tribes and they had a little bit of different beliefs and differences in general among them. But if they would be forbidden to do whatever they were doing, even if it was hidden, people knew they were doing stuff. But if they would be forbidden to do their things, they would have a reason to revolt. And
Mm-hmm.
religiosity is something very important to people. It was the only thing they had. It was the only solace, the only hope. So if that was taken from them, what could have happened, right? So, to an extent, it was kind of tolerated. White people kind of looked the other way. And that's how African derived spirituality managed to survive slavery times.
Yeah.
And some very specific religions were born from the mixture between um, African religions, Catholicism, and native Brazilian, the indigenous people. So we have, for example, Umbanda, which is a mixture of all of that, also Candomblé, and there are also other religions that I don't know a lot about, but they exist. So
Mm-hmm.
everything in Brazil is a huge mixture, and spirituality wouldn't be different.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, that's very, very fascinating of like the tactic of the oppressor, you know,
Hmm.
um, because of, in the US and, well, even in the Caribbean, many islands and stuff, it was banned. It was no tolerance. And so to see and hear of Brazil, there's like, oh, okay, we're going to tolerate it only for a tactic of trying to keep them separate.
Yeah.
What? Like,
And I'm going to even cite the source. So I've read it in this book. If anybody out there can read Portuguese, it is called Candomblé e Umbanda, Caminhos da Devoção Brasileira. Paths of Brazilian Devotion by Wagner Gonçalves da Silva. This guy is an anthropologist. He's a professor of the anthropology department of the University of São Paulo, and he has
mhm,
written multiple books about the culture and Afro Brazilian religions. So it's not me saying this, it is an actual researcher who wrote here. So just so people
yeah,
can feel a little bit reassured that it's not just me saying things.
yeah, listen, and we give credit where credit's due in this house. So
Exactly.
listen, we love that. And even though I do not speak Portuguese, but I have Google Translate and I will translate every page if I have to understand
That book
more.
is
Okay.
amazing. It is really amazing. I wish there would be a translation because the text is phenomenal.
Yes.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
I love that. Ancestral reverence, I at its core base is so important in our practices. And you did talk about your spirits, and how they basically are the elevated. Well, please correct me if I'm wrong, by the way.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
are, I don't want to disrespect, I don't want to
Yeah, don't
disrespect them.
worry.
All respect here, all love and respect. So they are elevated, they are deified in a way, to act in your life. What about is there a connection with your ancestors, and do you speak with them as well? Or I would love to know your practice in, yeah,
Mhm.
in,
So when it comes to the ancestral veneration, for me, it was such a healing journey
mm,
because my father's family, there has been a lot of turmoil on that side of the family, a lot of serious problems, addiction, abuse. So for me, it was a part of my family that I didn't dare look at, and it
mm,
was spirituality who opened that door for me. And I
mm,
got to talk to the eldest members of the family from that side. I learned so much about great grandma, grandma, the things that happened, the things they did. Um, and to see the patterns that repeat themselves over the generations, it is
mm,
super interesting. And only when we become aware of that, we are able to break the patterns. So I started ancestral veneration thinking about those, the known deceased, right? People that we know the names of, maybe we have seen pictures of them, people who died a few decades ago. But
mhm,
throughout my practice, I don't know if it is because I am in another country, if distance has anything to do with it, and like there's a whole ocean in between, or maybe it is just because they haven't been dead for that long. I don't really feel that they reached back, or
mm,
it wasn't that strong, I would say.
mhm,
It was these entities here that started reaching out. They
yeah,
started answering to my calls, let's say.
yeah,
And in my experience, at least, or what I could notice, it is spirits of people who have been dead for some centuries that actually come around and answer us. It's not necessarily somebody we knew because they are going through their own spiritual journey and, developing themselves. So
mm,
it's going to take them still a long time to come and reach out to the living. Maybe
yes,
I'm wrong. Maybe I didn't really learn how to reach those spirits yet. It could be the case. But in my experience, it was more ancient spirits that came and reached out to me.
that's
And
beautiful.
those spirits, they are not necessarily elevated, they are very
Okay.
similar to humans.
Mhm.
They just have been dead for a long time and they don't really follow the moral codes that we have, so they will never judge you for whatever you do in your life. They are just here for us, they will advise you, they will, you know but whatever you choose to do, they will just be there and try to help you.
Love
And
that.
they have a positive side and a negative side. They have flaws and strengths just like us.
Yes.
The girls, they can be a little bit of drama queens every now and then.
You
You
know
know how
what?
girls are.
I
They're
kind of like them. I kind of like them. I kind of like them, you know?
they are so sassy. I love them. And
Oh,
the guy is just chill. Everything is good. Just like
I,
guys. You know,
it's like everything's fine. I love it.
I
Oh, I
love them.
love
They are so my team, and we love
it.
gossiping.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
these spirits, they chose to be with you before you are born, before you come into the world. It is all based in affinity, in sometimes karma, sometimes deals that we have from former lives,
Yeah.
and they just come with us. Whether we reach out or not, they are there taking a look every now and then. And if we decide to take this journey, my God, they are so fierce. They do everything so quickly. For yesterday, like for example, every Brazilian that is in France really struggles with visa situations. It is a thing. People have a hard time with those things. Me, on the other hand, and I have never heard of that before, I got my visa approved in 2 days. I never saw that happening to anybody. Was that just luck? Well, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Listen, in my house, there's no such thing as coincidence. That, spirit is many things, but
Yeah,
lazy is not one of them.
they
Lazy
are
is not
so
that.
fast. It
Yeah,
is, yeah, mind
yeah.
blowing.
I was wanting to ask you to, if of course with your level of comfortability, of course, some witchy
Hmm.
experiences, but that one is definitely a witchy experience. I love that. And I love what you said about the healing of your ancestors and stuff. I actually uh, got to know my father's side of the family later on in my life, and
Hmm.
but I won't lie, that activated a lot when I started doing ancestral work. And then I was able to connect and speak with an elder who is a priestess in African tradition. And they flat out said to me, they said, listen, I don't know what you have in your, this is like a while ago, a long time ago. They're like, I don't know what you have in your heart, but you have a side of your family that you don't really acknowledge, that you don't really talk to, and they are going to bat for you. And this person was like, you are so deeply loved by the fathers within your family. And I was like, okay, you know what? So the healing aspect, I resonated with you big time. Ancestral work has brought a lot of healing. And I love that. I
Yeah.
love what you said about the judgments. Like, they don't judge you. Yes, you could come crying, boo-hooing, everything.
Even if you do something in your life that is considered wrong within the society's standards, well, they don't care, they don't follow the same codes that we follow over here. So they
Yes.
will not judge you. They will not give you a speech or anything.
Yeah.
They will just hold your hand and let's see what we can work from here.
Yes, exactly. It's just giving you the space. It's just holding space for you
Yeah,
to experience this whether you want it, I know some people, like, they hate being human, XYZ. So whether you're happy with it or not, guess what? You're here. So they're going to help you
yeah,
through it. They're going to help you through it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. Okay, so I would love to know, how has your practice affected your life?
Oh my God. I think that it has been so fundamental for my growth, not only as a practitioner, but
Mm,
also as an individual, as a person. Like with that whole thing with my father's side of the family, if it wasn't for spirituality, I
mm-hmm,
don't think I would have been able to open that door and look at each of those people as humans who were just struggling themselves through the human experience,
mm,
and discovering the why behind certain attitudes and understanding them for the very first time. So that was so fundamental. And spirituality gave it to me. So
yeah,
that's one thing. And then another thing is that being in another country, you know how it is, how lonely we can get, how hopeless we can feel at times. So
yeah,
being spiritually connected gives me hope. It keeps me grounded. It
mm,
gives me the reassurance that I can't find anywhere else, and it lets me know that everything will be fine. We're here. You are not alone. We are doing stuff for you. By the way, we love the cake.
Yeah. They're like, next week, what do you say? You want to make it again? Listen, yes.
Yeah. And discovering the things as you go and having those little moments and those little experiences that you can't really explain, that is so amazing, that is so rewarding. Like, I have
I would,
mentioned this story in my video,
okay,
but I'm
please.
gonna have to mention it here too.
No, please. I was
Like,
gonna ask you if you're comfortable sharing. I would love to know another like experience, little taste. Yes.
so months ago, like last year, whatever, a long time ago, I was here on my little altar doing my ancestral veneration. And
Hmm.
then I asked, is there anybody here with me?
Hmm.
And I had three court cards from the tarot coming up. I had the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Swords, and the Knight of Wands. Three, you
But also,
see?
oh my gosh.
And I was
Okay.
like, oh, okay, three. That's a lot of people. I didn't expect that, but that's cool. The more,
Hmm.
the merrier, right? Okay. And then when I had the consultation with the religious figure, and he told me, you have those three entities. And he started describing the personality of each of them. I immediately remembered about the cards because it is exactly the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Swords, and the Knight of Wands. I was like, what the fuck? Like, they were
Mm.
already sending signs, and I was
Yes.
like, not understanding, not getting it. So I
Yeah.
think that everybody goes through that stage that you start getting the signs, but you don't notice it. You don't understand what they're trying to say. It's kind of
Mm.
funny.
Oh, I would love for you to speak on because you are blending so much of who you are into your practice. What would you say to someone who is in a similar position like yourself? Um, how do I connect with my intuition? Like, I'm wanting to
Mhm.
put something together. Like, I can imagine when, because you're not following a guidebook, you're not following
Exactly.
a book, you're literally following yourself. And for some
Yeah.
people, they're like, how? I would love, how are you navigating that?
If
Yeah.
I would give an advice, is to just trust your like trust the signs that you're getting. Just believe it, because oftentimes we think we are tripping and we are crazy, and no, we discredit ourselves throughout the journey, and you should not do that. Like, for example, I remember when I decided, okay, instead of the ancestors, like the people that I know that were part of my family, instead of trying to reach out to my grandma, I will
Mhm.
start trying to reach out to Pombagira. And then I would light a candle and everything, and I would have two names coming to my mind. And I thought to myself, no, this has to be wrong, because
Yeah.
usually people only have one Pombagira with them. Why
Mm.
am I getting two names here? No, this is not right. And
Hmm.
then later on, I discovered that I was getting the two names of my two girls. You see? So trust the signs you're getting. You are getting it right. Don't doubt yourself.
100.
And
Yes.
also, you will think you are crazy. You will think there's some schizophrenia kind of thing going on, but it is not the case. So you will start getting those little voices in your head.
Hmm.
Just listen and trust it. You are not going insane. You will think you are, but you are not. Just trust it.
I love that. And I would even add, if I were to add a little bit, document, write it down.
Yes, yes, that's what a grimoire is for. So I do both things in my grimoire. I write down spells, recipes, like the cake recipe, the bread recipe, they are in my grimoire. And every week I get the paper from the, because it's a binder. And I also write, sometimes I write, oh, today, this date, I did so and so, and I got this result. It is super important. Later on, you're going to look back at it and you will understand so many things. It is
Yeah.
extremely important to document it all.
I love that. And I feel like a lot of people would resonate because it's not easy to trust your intuition when you've been told your whole life what to believe,
Do not,
what
right?
to it. And now you're on your own path and it's just like, what do I do? No one's telling me what to do. Good.
Hmm.
That's fantastic. Isn't that beautiful? You know?
Yeah,
So 100,
it's so empowering.
it is very, very empowering. I love your journey so much. I love it. You played a little game with me, threw me off, and I love it. Go watch it because I completely blundered like the first half of it. Like, it's okay. It's okay. But I would love if because I would love to know your responses to some of these things. Yes.
So in the video that we've made with Quavia for my channel, at the end there was a little game. So it is 101. Reply
Yeah.
to this thing that I'm gonna say with one word. So an herb. For me, I think it would totally be rosemary. It is an herb that I use for burning, for like cleansing the house, and I make baths out of it. And sometimes I use it for meditation as well because it can help with psychic ability. Rosemary is totally my herb, and I am growing it now. I love that little guy. A crystal, I would
Yeah.
definitely say obsidian. I have a
Oh,
rainbow obsidian with me. This is an amulet that I'm always wearing. So obsidian is one of my favorites.
I love an amulet. Yes.
Yeah, a divination system.
Yes.
Um, I would say tarot because it's the one that I know the most and I feel the most comfortable with. But the cowrie shells, they also have a very special space in my heart. Something I still want to learn. Cowrie shell
Fairy
divination. I
shells.
really want to be good at it, but it's complex. It's going to take a long time.
You know, but spirituality is like that. It's not always so quick. It takes up
Yeah.
time, it process. So I understand that. I love that. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Something I wish I had done sooner. I mean, I wish I had done all of this sooner in my life. I don't
Mm.
think I mean, things come along in the right time when they are supposed to, but I would have loved if I could have uh, taken that leap sooner because it's so amazing, you know? And something that I regret doing, that's a difficult one. Nothing, I would say. I don't think that there's anything
Ooh.
that I regret so far.
Yes, I love it. Yes, because you shouldn't.
Not in my practice and not in my life, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Listen, we don't do humble here. I love it. Yes. I love it. Yes. Nice. And
Oh,
I actually have a surprise too for you.
mm, mm.
Yes. A spell you love.
A spell I love.
Mhm. Like it's your go-to. It's something that you love.
I'm not sure if it is a spell per se, but I really
Okay.
like puppets. I really like it. My like bread and butter is a white candle and a glass of water.
We were talking about that. Like our
Yeah.
ancestors, they ain't need much.
You
Yes.
you get those two things, white candle, glass of water, and you add a puppet, and my God.
Listen, if you
You
know,
can do
you know.
so
Yes,
much.
if you know, you know. I love that. Yes, I love that. Powerful, honestly. And I kind of I but you know what I also love about that? I feel like
Mm.
sometimes when people are connecting to their practice or something, they feel like they need so much. They need
Oh,
this,
yeah,
that, they need this. They're not a witch if they don't have this. Hmm, interesting.
girl.
Interesting.
We need so little, I
Exactly.
mean, if you want, by all means, go ahead and have whatever you feel like, but it's not necessary. We can work magic with very little.
Yes. No, 100%. And the last one is this one's gonna be
Mhm.
difficult, but um a deity.
I don't actively work with deities, but
Okay.
I was told by the authority
Yeah.
person that I am a daughter of two,
Okay.
Yemanja
Mm-hmm.
and Ishu. So
Yeah.
if and when, whatever, I feel ready or I feel like connecting to deities, those two would definitely be my choices.
And you know what? You said something that I absolutely love. You are waiting, even though you know you are deciding to wait because you understand that it's a process. I feel like people are very quick
Yeah,
to want to work with
too
deities. And don't
quick, right?
yeah, and don't get me wrong, if you feel called, do you. Do what makes your spirit feel good and whole and makes you feel good and whole.
Yeah. Think
Think
that this is not the time and it will come later on.
but yeah, individuals who are wanting to experience deity work, it's okay to wait. I think that there's
Mhm.
so many other spirits that can help you along the way. Like,
Oh
and
my
we're so
God. Yeah. There's
yeah.
the ancestors, which in my opinion should be the first ones you reach out to because they are just open for you and available. There's
Mm-hmm.
local spirits, your local cemetery is your place, your hangout, There's, yeah, there's animal spirits, plant spirits.
Yeah.
I don't
There
know.
are
People have
ones-
a little bit of a fixation with deities and gods. Nothing wrong with it, but
no, no.
you have so many options, right?
Oh yeah, there's so many options. I love what you said about the local spirits, especially if you're like us, we are not living in our homelands right
Mhm,
now. And so,
mhm.
oh yeah, the spirit of Prague is an interesting one. My friends and I, we talk about her. We talk about her definitely because she's an interesting one. But I love that. I absolutely, absolutely love that. So I want to say thank you so much for
Um,
like being here and talking about your practice. I feel like you gave so many. Okay, anyone who's been following me for a while, they know what I love is inner work and outer work because I feel like you need both to enact something in your life. And I feel like you've given
yeah,
so much of your inner world, of how you have changed, of the healing that you've experienced, and just your practice in general. And I love it. And then the outer work of like what you are actively doing to cultivate a relationship that it's actually, this is not some dead person. No, they're living. They just have no, and they will quickly tell you that and put you in your place because they're sassy.
yeah. My God,
And so I absolutely positively love that. So I want to say thank you so much.
it is
And if
my pleasure.
yes, and hopefully in the future we will do this again. Absolutely. Because you're not that far away from me. So and I've
Yeah,
never
maybe we could get to make it in person sometime. We never know. We're not that
we
far
never
away.
listen, I've never been to France, which is kind of wild when I think about it, when it's
And
not that
I've never been to the Czech Republic.
Listen, we will see how the cards unfold, but spirit will guide
Yeah,
as they have
yeah.
guided us. So thank you so much. Um,
No, thank you for having me and giving me the space to talk. It's been amazing. I had a great time. Thank you so much.
no, thank you. Thank you. All of her contacts will be down below. And so please go. She has such amazing videos on her spirit, her practice, your book recommendations that you've been doing. You know what? I'm gonna say less. And I know you're on Patreon now. Stop playing with people.
I
Yes,
am. I share
listen.
some juicy information on Patreon. The next one, by the way, it is going to be how to do a binding, a real binding, like
Oh,
they did back in the day, a
listen.
raw thing, literally. So,
Listen, I am loving that. So thank you. Go over to Aster's channel, to her Instagram as well. I know you have I follow you on Instagram. I follow you on YouTube. Listen. So go do it as well. And so thank you so much, beautifuls. And until the next one, I will see you then. Truth and love.